Paramarupa's on his way, stuck in heavy traffic. Premarnava didn't get invited, but
I called, but he never gives me feedback, but he comes every time.
Well, he didn't know about it till I called him.
I left the message.
He didn't receive your message.
That's what happens every year. I leave the message, he never gives me any feedback, but he comes. So that's the way it's going.
When he comes today, you work something out.
Okay.
Because he didn't know.
So is he coming?
Yeah.
Oh.
With his mridanga.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's not okay that somehow we have to figure out a way. You and he.
Yeah, I have to communicate.
You and he sort it out. We don't need to have a discussion. You and he sort it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. That's what I was thinking also.
He's
I
nice.
have to
He's nice association.
Today, yeah.
He brings his mridanga.
Right.
And he's very happy to be here. He just has to know to come. And your other friends?
They are also coming.
Okay, just now coming.
They're late, I think they're late.
Yeah, somebody.
Okay, so we're going to begin.
Okay.
I'm going to read 2 verses from Bhagavad. We'll chant together 2 verses from Bhagavad Gita and then read one of the purports. This is chapter 9, text number 11 and 12.
Just one interruption. Paramanapa?
He's come.
So
He's on his way.
Yeah, he's on the way. He said he'll be late, but he's bringing some.
I said that at the very beginning.
Oh.
He's stuck in traffic, but he's on his way.
Okay. Yeah, he called me. Okay.
He called me too. It was 1 o'clock, and then it was 1:28, and
Maybe,
let's see.
yeah.
GPS.
The traffic is congested. Something's going on up there. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Avajananti mam modha.
Avajananti mam mudha.
Manushim tanamashritam.
Manushim tanamashritam.
Arambhavam ajananto.
Arambhavam ajananto.
Mama bhuta maheshwaram.
Mama bhuta maheshwaram.
One more time. Avajananti mam modha.
Avajananti mam mudha.
Manushim tanam ashritam.
Manushim tanamashritam.
Arambhavam ajananto.
Parambhavam ajananto.
Mama bhuta maheshwaram.
Mama bhuta maheshwaram.
Translation: Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. And text 12. Mogasha moga karmano.
Mogasha moga karmano.
Moga jnana vicheshtata.
Moga jnana vicheshtata.
Rakshasim asurim chaiva.
Rakshasim asurim chaiva.
Prakritim mohinim shritaha.
Prakritim mohinim shritaha.
Mogasha moga karmano.
Mogasha moga karmano.
Moga jnana vichetasaha.
Moga jnana vichetasaha.
Rakshasim asurim chaiva.
Rakshasim asurim chaiva.
Prakritim mohinim shritaha.
Prakritim mohinim shritaha.
Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Purport. There are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service, going back to Godhead, will never be tasted. Similarly, those who are engaged in fruitive, pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from this material entanglement will never be successful either, because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. In other words, persons who mock Krishna are to be understood to be demonic or atheistic, as described in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Such demonic miscreants never surrender to Krishna. Therefore, their mental speculations to arrive at the absolute truth bring them to the false conclusion that the ordinary living entity and Krishna are one and the same. With such a false conviction, they think that the body of any human being is now simply covered by material nature, and that as soon as one is liberated from the material body, there is no difference between God and himself. This attempt to become one with Krishna will be baffled because of delusion. Such atheistic and demoniac cultivation of spiritual knowledge is always futile. That is the indication of this verse. For such persons, cultivation of the knowledge of the Vedic literature, like Vedanta Sutra and the Upanishads, is always baffled. Paragraph. It is a great offense, therefore, to consider Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be an ordinary man. Those who do so are certainly deluded, because they cannot understand the eternal form of Krishna. The Rehadvishnu Smitty clearly states, quote, one who considers the body, I'm going to modify this because of Lord Nrsingadev's appearance. Those who consider the body of Lord Nrsingadev to be material, that was Hiranyakashipu, should be driven out from all rituals and activities of the Shruti and Smriti. And if one by chance sees his face, one should at once take bath in the Ganges to rid himself of infection. People jeer at Lord Nrsingadev because they are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their destiny is certainly to take birth after birth in the species of atheistic and demoniac life. Perpetually their real knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to the darkest region of creation, unquote. So I selected these Bhagavad Gita verses, thinking of Lord Nrsingadev's appearance. And the verse number 11 is speaking of Krishna assuming a human form, Manusham Tanam Ashritam, having accepted his Manusham, human-like form. And Lord Nrsingadev accepted or manifested a half-man, half-lion, unprecedented form. There's a long purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita that describes, Prabhupada describes how Hiranyakashipu, when he saw Lord Nrsingadev, what he thought. He thought, he's a living entity like me. He has mystic powers, I have mystic powers. My mystic powers surpass the mystic powers of anybody, and so I'll conquer him. Although he saw, he could not see. Pashyati na pashyati. What to speak of people that can't see the form of the Lord? They're not so fortunate. not only Hiranyakashipu, but his associates. After Hiranyakashipu was finished, all of his generals and cohorts, they all attacked ensemble. They attacked the personality of Godhead, Lord Nrsimhadev, and he destroyed them all. Because they were thinking, just as this verse describes, that it's a material form. Human-like means there's the inside, there's the soul, and there's the outside, there's the body. And the body of Krishna is just a better version of ours. But I've got all these powers, mystic powers, and so I can defeat him. That's how Shishupal thought, that's how others that tried to challenge Krishna thought, Jarasandha and others, so many others. So they're the principle, the starting point of their defeat is not understanding the transcendental nature of the form of the Lord. That's how the translation goes. After 9:11 comes 9:12. Those who are thus bewildered. Those who are thus bewildered. So they're bewildered by thinking that the form is the person. The form is the material, and the material form is the person. This is Maya. The nature of Maya is not being able to see the truth, even one may see the truth. So, at the beginning of this chapter, 9, Krishna speaks about the importance of faith, because bhakti depends on, rests upon, and matures within the realm of faith, and without some core principle faith, bhakti doesn't progress, and without bhakti progressing, realization of the personality of Godhead doesn't progress. And as bhakti does progress, resting upon faith, then one can understand things that others can't understand, because mogasha, moga karmano, that's verse 12. Asha means desire. Anyavilasha tushunyam asha, desire. So their desires for fruitive activities are defeated. Their hopes, mogasha, moga karmano, their hopes for progress in fruitive activities. Moga jnana, their hopes for development of higher situation in life through cultivation of knowledge. Rest upon faith, and minus faith, then even one can see, one cannot see. Even when one comes in contact with Bhagavad Gita, one will understand it in a different way, in an interpretation way, some indirect way, in some other way. There's this description in Chaitanya Charitamrita where, with the hope, Ballabha Bhatta, or Ballabha Acharya, wanted to gain the favor of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he was a very elevated scholar and Vaishnav. He was a very elevated scholar and a very elevated Vaishnav. But at least the portrayal in Chaitanya Charitamrita is there was pride. And because of that pride, he wanted recognition. And in order to get recognition, he looked up to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's a prior event. They were crossing a river in a boat, and hearing topics of Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went into ecstasy and was standing on the boat, and the boat was going to capsize, and they had to calm him down. And Vallabha had not seen anything like that. He could understand this is an extraordinary person, exceptionally spiritually elevated person, so his regard was with respect. And this person who he looked up to with respect, he wanted him to gain some favor of his appreciation, his regard for him. So pride is detrimental. So he wanted, and so one of the things that he did is he offered a commentary of the Bhagavatam superior to Sridhar Swami's commentary. And just a detail, it's not in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but Jiva Goswami explains that Sridhar Swami was chronologically he predated Mahaprabhu. He was a sannyasi in the Madhva line, and he made commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam because two reasons. He knew that Shankaracharya had written Govindastakam, some 8 prayers in glorification of Govinda, specifically identifying Govinda with pastimes that are found only in Srimad Bhagavatam and not elsewhere in the other Puranas. And so Sridhar Swami knew that Shankara followers had some attraction for Srimad Bhagavatam. And he was concerned that if they start making commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, it'll be a mess. They'll interpret in a wrong way everything. And so he wanted to give a proper presentation. And second, and connected, as he knew that they would be interested in Srimad Bhagavatam. And so he made a commentary because Shankaracharya indicated indirectly that he was familiar with Srimad Bhagavatam and appreciated Govinda. So he had a strategy. If everything that he wrote was entirely of a Vaishnava nature, the impersonalists would reject it, not take any interest. So there are some passages by design, by strategy, that appeared to be impersonal in nature, but by and large the text is Vaishnava in nature. His commentary, Bhavarta Dipika, commentary on the Bhagavatam. So when Jiva Goswami makes this statement, he says, as Mahaprabhu accepted Sridhar Swami as the authoritative commentator on Srimad Bhagavatam, I shall quote Sridhar Swami where it doesn't conflict with Vaishnava conclusions. Meaning he just didn't touch the other part, like a swan can take milk but not the water from body of a lake. So the swan-like Jiva Goswami was able to take the nectar from Sridhar Swami's commentary and leave the rest. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was unhappy to hear, you have a commentary better than the Swami. I consider one who is not faithful to the Swami to be like a prostitute. Implying Swami is the master and the prostitute may be married to a man, but if they're not faithful to their husband, they're like a prostitute. So that attempt failed. He got scolded. And therefore, Jiva Goswami, in fact, was pursuant of Sridhar Swami's exalted commentary. In many, many, many places, Rupa Goswami also makes reference to Sridhar Swami's commentary. Our Acharya Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur makes reference to Sridhar Swami's commentary, leaving aside those other references that are by strategy sounding not Vaishnava, knowing his heart. So similarly, later, Vallabha said, I have a wonderful interpretation of the name of Krishna. Would you like to hear it? And it's a Sanskrit rule that terms in Sanskrit are to be taken with their direct meaning, and only can an indirect meaning or a secondary meaning be taken if it just is illogical or inappropriate. So to interpret, it's one of the offenses against the holy name, to interpret the holy name of the Lord. Prabhupada has placed it as a separate, make some interpretation of the holy name of the Lord. It's an offense. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I don't know any other meaning of the name Krishna than Nanda Nandana and Yasoda Nandana, the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda. So again, he was defeated. So taking Krishna for something other than Krishna taking Lord Nrsingadev to be something other than Lord Nrsingadev is an offense. And that was the mentality of Hiranyakashipu. When he saw, back to this commentary from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when he saw Lord Nrsingadev, he thought, oh, this is a living entity like me who has some mystic powers, and through his mystic power he's showing this incredible form. But I have mystic powers too, I'll defeat him. Because the explanation given is because he saw Lord Nrsingadev as something material, he didn't achieve liberation. And Ravana similarly saw Ram as a powerful person, but not Vishnu, not the Supreme Lord. So he didn't achieve liberation. But the uniqueness of Krishna, in contrast to Nrsinga and Ram, is that although Shishupal and Dantavakra both, and Putana and Arishtasura, they achieved liberation because they were killed by Krishna, even unknowing what his position is. The superlative position of Krishna is like that. Somebody has asked more than once, if he didn't get liberation, if Hiranyakashipu didn't get liberation, where did he go? And it was a long time, wherever he went, it was a long time until the next time around. Ravana and Kumbhakarna and Shishupal and Dantavakra. So the answer is, our acharyas haven't said anything about it. I made that request of Bhanu Swami, who has translated so many literatures. What do our acharyas say? And he said, I've not read anything where it says where they went. But where they went, kind of like in a hold pattern for some time. Then coming again. But the point is, not liberated. And that mogasha, moga karma no, moga jnana vichetasaha, rakshasim asarim chaiva. They take shelter of demoniac and atheistic views. Rakshasim asarim chaiva. Prakritim mohinim shritaha. They're deluded. Prakritim mohinim shrita. just like Ravana. He was born in a Brahmin family of a very, very elevated father, and educated by his father in Vedas. He was very knowledgeable in the Vedas. He knew many, many, many things, very skilled in arts, particularly musical arts. He was, materially capable person. But an asura, just to the core, by his disposition. And so he was defeated. Now, before he was defeated, he certainly became very, very powerful. But even those very, very powerful benedictions that he received, defeated in the hands of the personality of Godhead, or at the hands of the personality of Godhead. And that's the way of someone that's seeking something. And everyone's seeking something. He was seeking, he had big ambition. He wanted to rule creation eternally. He went after defeating Indra. He is the king of heaven, at least in that post, that position, and he wanted to stay there forever. He wanted immortality. Not possible. Anything that's temporary isn't eternal. Pretty simple. Asat never becomes Sat. But he wanted. So by cleverness, this and that and the other thing, so he could be eternal. He wanting to be God. Wanting to be the Supreme. And Prabhupada is speaking, especially in his purport, about impersonalism. And impersonalism is just the further extension of the same thing. It's as demoniac as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. It's just wanting to be God. Wanting to be God by material means, wanting to be God by so-called spiritual means, but that's the intention. Same intention. And an unfortunate consequence, as Prabhupada is saying in his conclusion in the purport. Oh, well, he's quoting from scripture to support his statements. The Rehadvishnu Smithy. Perpetually their real knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to the darkest region of creation. Sometimes it's asked, there's this notion out there that eventually everyone's going back to Godhead. And is it so? The answer is no. The answer is, if they don't desire to go back to Godhead, they don't go back to Godhead. Krishna doesn't interfere with the will of living entity. Forever they're cast into demoniac species. Forever. That's a long time. Forever is a long time. And then even at the end of the cosmic annihilation, resting in the body of Mahavishnu, and then again creation just keeps, recycling the souls in demoniac species. Krishna doesn't interfere with free will. So the fundamental problem is this aversion to acceptance of the Supreme Soul. I mentioned this the other day, but it was profound. I found it profound. I'd like to meet this student at MIT, Texas A&M. Grad student girl, feature-wise looked like from South India, very slender and small stature, saying, how do I choose? How do I make the choice between she used the word, I think she used the word impersonal. The merging, with becoming one with Brahman option, and the two were Bhagavad Gita. Because the merging with the supreme option, and she described it very accurately. And then the Bhagavad Gita version is, there's Paramatma, and there's Atma, and the Atma is to look up to Paramatma and fix the mind upon Paramatma, eventually engage in devotional service, and attain the abode of the spiritual realm. How do I choose between the two options? Knowing that there's two options. On the one hand, there's this verse from Rishabhadev's teachings where he says, Rishabhadev, Canto 5, Chapter 5, what's something Dwaram, Dwaram Ahor Vimuktes. Sangha Dwaram Ahor Vimuktes. What's the verse? Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahor Vimuktes. There we go. Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahor Vimuktes. Mahat Sevam Dwaram. There's the Dwaram, the gate into liberation, by Mahat Sevam, by rendering service to the Mahats, the great souls. In that purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks, there's two categories, Brahman realized and the Vaishnava group. And both are Mahat Sevam, and both can achieve moksha. Then there's the superlative position of eternal situation in one's spiritual form in Vaikuntha and merging with Brahman. But in other places, just like here, he's going the other direction, saying it's demoniac, because the spirit of wanting to become one with the Supreme by denying the existence of the spiritual form of Krishna, denying the spiritual form of Krishna, considering it to be material, or the form of Lord Nrsimhadev, considering it to be material, it's demoniac. And the consequence of that enmity towards the spiritual identity of the personality of Godhead is what we just heard, gliding down to the darkest regions of material existence. So, kind of contrasting descriptions of where that idea of becoming one with the Supreme is coming from, just like Shishupal. Boy, was he averse to Krishna, big time. And he called Krishna's name, and that was his saving grace. He became very fixed upon Krishna, and Krishna accepted that and gave him liberation. Krishna is very kind. And Krishna is superlatively kind compared to Rama and Nrsimha. We heard these nice descriptions last couple of days. These three, Krishna, Rama, and Nrsimha, they're described in Padma Purana. They are in the same category, Shad Aishvarya Purna, same category of forms of the Lord, in contrast to any of the other personalities, the avatars. But Krishna is most merciful. Because sometimes, people ask, why Krishna? Why are you so big on Krishna? It's most merciful. And other forms of appreciating Rama and Nrsimha is fine. Devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Murari Gupta, he was a lover of Krishna, Rama. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said about Haridas Thakur, you're Prahlad Maharaj. And Prahlad Maharaj's worshipable deity is Lord Nrsingadev. But look at Haridas chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So one may have a specific attraction for a form of the Lord. That's fantastic. If one can have a genuine attraction for a form of the Lord. At the same time, there should be this understanding that Krishna is the source of all forms of the Lord. He's the source of everything. He's the source of everything. And he's most merciful. So, we yesterday observed the appearance day of Lord Nrsingadev. This evening at the Central New Jersey Temple, we're having part 2. Observing the appearance day of Lord Nrsingadev. And very, very important. He's an essential part of our worship. Nrsinga prayers after every arti. And every child in the Hare Krishna movement around the world. Even in China, they learn the Nrsinga prayers. It's really nice. We worship Lord Nrsingadev. And we recognize the position of Lord Nrsingadev. He helps us overcome obstacles and offenses and impurities within the heart so we can come to the stage of pure devotion for Krishna. We look to him that way. We look to Balaram for the spiritual strength that we need to carry out our service to Krishna. And the goal is Krishna. And he's the source of Balaram and Nrsingadev and everything. We see, in other words, we see the connection of all these forms of the Lord and devotees of the Lord and everything that's going to lift us as coming from Krishna. That's our training. Let's see what happens tonight. And poor Paramarupa still hasn't made it. Still stuck in traffic. Must be really bad traffic. So any discussion? At least Premarnava made it.
Sorry.
No, it's. I'm glad you were able to just drop everything and come along. Where'd you park the kids?
They realized that Manu is almost 14.
She's almost finished?
Huh?
Your wife is almost finished?
No, Manu is almost 14, he's 13. So
Okay, she doesn't need a babysitter. He's got his little computer and he can go for hours.
He knows how to feed himself.
Okay. Fantastic. So
So the impersonal is how do they keep going? What keeps them going?
what's the fuel in their tank?
Yeah, like
Envy.
it's kind of dry. And
They want to be God.
they want to be God.
They want to be God. They're convinced they are.
Oh.
They just have to get on the other side of the mistake of thinking that they aren't. But that the fuel in their tank is I'm God. I am Brahman. No, their conception of God is Brahman. It's not the personality of Godhead, it's Brahman. That's their conception of God. And I am Brahman. And there's the negative. The negative is there's misery. Misery arises because I forgot that I'm God. I forgot that I'm Brahman. And I'm having this imposition of Maya. Paramarupa?
Yeah.
Ah, right. That's the imposition of Maya that says there's something other than Brahman. When in fact there isn't anything. All there is one thing. Brahman. So it's the plus and the minus. The plus, like everything in life. The plus is I want to become one with Brahman. The minus is I don't want this suffering. That's their motivation. I want to get rid of suffering. Yes.
In chapter 12, Krishna said that if you are following impersonalist, you can still get to me. Isn't it? If I
It's not exactly what he says.
maybe I'm not remembering correct, but it's a difficult path to get to Krishna, but it's...
So here's the answer. I could restate what he actually says, but the answer is Bahunam Janmanam Ante.
Yes.
That's the answer. Gyanavam Mam Prapajyate. Right. So by Gyan, they're worshipping Brahman, the impersonal feature.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no guarantee. Lots of pitfalls in the path of many lifetimes. Eventually they come to the conclusion, Krishna is everything. And they may not.
Yeah.
But if they come to that conclusion, then they surrender to me. So that's that Prabhupada's simple example of touch your nose or touch your nose that way.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to do it that way. But it's still the conclusion is they have to surrender to Krishna and accept him as the source of everything.
Yeah.
The worshippers of my impersonal form eventually may come to me. So which of the two is better? Well, the direct is better.
So if he said that, I mean, why they don't get it? I mean, what is so difficult for them?
That's his question.
Yeah.
What's their motivation? What keeps them going? They want to be God. And if you acknowledge there's a person, not you, like this girl from Texas A&M, because they don't like the idea there's Paramatma and I'm this Atma, and I got to look up to him. They don't, no way. I met, just to say it again in a different way, I was in Shenzhen, China, and I was introduced to a millionairess who wanted to meet me. And I asked her, why do you want to meet? I want to meet me. That was my first, what are you looking for? And she said, I find happiness in being charitable, being kind and compassionate to others. And to be kind and compassionate to others, I need success in my material endeavors. So my friend here says, you're a spiritual person, maybe you can help me become successful in my material endeavors so that I can find this happiness of being charitable to others. And so then I started sharing with her, and she sat forward she was being polite, but she sat forward and said, don't give me this, I gotta surrender to somebody. Don't go there. She held her finger up. They don't get it because they don't want to get it.
That's true.
Because, they want to become...
themselves.
No, there's different conceptions of what that is. But, they want happiness. The happiness of, in this case, she had just come from a situation where she and some other friends of hers that are also millionairesses, they selected an orphanage to give some endowment to the orphanage. And then she explained, one of the things that you have to do when you do this is be ready for them to say, we want more, and then you have to say no. you put the limit to your happiness. And because they're going to just want more. It's just part of what you have to do. Say no. Nicely, but. So that's the happiness of someone that's excels in fruitive activities. So the path of karma and the path of gyan, all souls want happiness. So the definition of what happiness is, or the boundaries or the parameters of what's happiness, is different for different persons. But the fruitive person isn't going to see God. They want to, anyway. And the karma and gyan block bhakti. And we're similarly infested with that contamination. Different degrees. And for us that's obstacle. So how to get to the place where there's no mix. Well, a big part, of course, how we lead our life, but a big part is how we view these core things: the scripture, the deity, the name, the devotee, and the holy place. Those 5. And for us, it starts with the name. There's no way around it. You can go over there and go over there and go over there, and it's still there. It's the name. Because that's the key, that's the doorway to, and how we regard mahats, or how we regard sadhu. Because sadhu can give us the proper entrance into the name. Yes.
Guru Maharaj, both Vibhishan and Ravana both must have done a lot of spiritual.
Which?
Both Vibhishan and Ravana must have done they must have got a lot of pious credits to even have darshan of Lord Ram. Yet Vibhishan views him as the Lord, whereas Ravana does not. So is it only because Vibhishan has got the association of devotees, so that's the reason why he has a proper regard towards the Lord?
I'm sure there's something to do with who he was in his previous life. And I forget the detail. There's some description like that. And I can't recall. What it seems to me, it's really like, a dim recollection, something over there that said some benediction that one of your children will be a great soul. Before the children were born. So benediction and who he was before, and it was within somehow. Now, and even something that's within, it has to be brought out through association. But when Hanuman went to Lanka, he went to Vibhishan's home, and he received him very nicely. And his wife was also devoted to the Supreme Lord. So somehow.
So unless it's association of devotees, there's no way a conditioned soul can ever understand the
That's right.
proper spiritual regard towards spiritual things.
Yeah. Because when Hanuman was just little, and this whole incident when he wanted to capture the sun, and he got hit by a lightning bolt of Indra and came crashing, and Vayu was very upset, and everyone came and started giving him benedictions. So one of the benedictions, he could assume different forms. So when he went to Vibhishan's home, he assumed a different form. He wasn't a monkey form, he was a Brahmin form. So he was received very nicely. But it was Hanumans, a bhakta, and he gave his association to Vibhishan. So through the association of a bhakta, one's bhakti can flourish. It was easy for Vibhishan. But there's some, I can't recall the detail, some benediction before even he was born. He'll be a great soul. But still it requires some association, like Narada, giving association to Prahlad. You have something?
Yes, Maharaj. Maharaj, even when we are on the path of devotional service, like chanting, is it that the purification is, or to me it means that the purification happens when there is a willingness in the heart to change and receive the mercy, and not automatic, like, if I keep on chanting, auto-magically, not only some magic will happen and the purification will happen. So, my question is that, to me it seems I need to endeavor and want it.
Yes.
But
Even if you don't, the fact that you're chanting, that's recognized by Krishna. Anybody, a man on the street that just says Krishna's name inadvertently. What to speak of for you that's chanting automagically? There's, it's slow, but there's a benefit that comes. Really slow. Many, many lifetimes. But, still, benefit is there. Even just saying Krishna's name once guarantees a human form. What to speak of everything else? So, the intention to go further is needed to go further in a significant way.
Even if they are chanting automatic, it must be Krishna's mercy, right?
Well, they're accessing Krishna's mercy by chanting even in a mechanical fashion. Not full, but accessing Krishna's mercy, because his mercy is there in his name. Yes?
Maharaj, you said that we should not be interpreting Krishna's name.
We should not be what? Interpreting. Okay.
But then we hear that Krishna means all attractive.
That's not interpreting. That's definition.
Okay.
It's it's etymology.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So this question comes to my mind all the time. So how can we help whatever knowledge I have or anybody has, but the knowledge of the Gita or Krishna consciousness? How can we help our world? What's going on? Like our kids are going to college and schools, and all the time is gunshot and violence is going on. Like what happened in Florida, all the kids are getting killed. 18, 20 kids are getting killed, and it happens almost every day. Whenever we turn on the news, it happens. How can we help?
Don't turn on
With
the
our
news.
knowledge. How can we help that? That's the biggest need we need from our God. How can we do that?
I'm just waiting for you to run out of gas, and then I'm going to give an answer. There's an answer in Srimad Bhagavatam, because before it came on the news, Vyasadeva saw it. Right? One of his uniquenesses is Sri Kalagyat. And he looked into the future, and he saw what you're now seeing on television. He saw it before it even came on television. And it's the acceleration of tamagun. And tamagun arises from contact with rajagun. Correct?
Right.
Kamesha, krodesha, rajoguna samudbhava. So when the living entity associates with rajogun, comes kama. And when kama is frustrated, krodha. And then comes violence, arising from krodha. Gandharvika, you got to sit down. Just for 5 minutes. 3 minutes. We'll negotiate. 2 minutes. Okay. So, what did Vyasadeva see? He saw Kali Yuga advancing, so he then decided, under Narada's instruction, to write this transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, that would create a revolution in the impious lives of people in general. Tad Bhag Visargo Janata Agha Viplavo. You have Bhagavatam in your home? So, look in the preface, and you'll find that Prabhupada quotes that verse. Every volume of the Bhagavatam is quoted. And it means the vak, sound vibration, visarga means the secondary creation. There's what Lord Vishnu does, and then there's what those that are serving Lord Vishnu do. They make sound vibration that gives viplava. Viplava means kaboom, like an explosion. Viplava, a transformation, a revolution in the Janata Agha. You know Janata. The Janata party, right? Janata Agha. The sinful Janatas. Janata Agha Viplava. So that's the solution. It's not going to, you can say lots of other things that aren't going to be solutions. And don't tell that to the people at the universities, because they'll say, "Oh, you're silly." So we need people that are going to campaign to stop violence, but that's not going to stop the violence. They'll just go over there or go over there, even if they were successful, because the root problem is the association with the modes of nature, and then the suffering that comes from that. Seeking happiness comes suffering. So the transformation of consciousness is needed. You really want an answer, that's the answer. Propagate sound vibration that's of the same spiritual nature as the Bhagavatam. So the holy name, the message of Bhagavad Gita, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, and spread it widely. Give the Janata Agha the chance to hear that sound vibration. And it for even for those, just like her question, the magical, automatonic. Anyway, even people that it can change the impious lives of people. Even people that don't become sadhakas. It can change the whole atmosphere, and there isn't another solution. It's not knowledge, because theoretically lots of people know lots of things, but it's making that sound vibration, and then the more pure the seat of consciousness is, the soul, the more powerful, the more elevating the effect will be. And so those that know that, that's what they do. They make that sound vibration available to others in different forms. Recorded, literature, kirtan, prasadam, some form or another, a combination. That's the Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's what it is. Sankirtan doesn't just mean musical, with musical instruments and singing. Sankirtan means doing what we're doing right now. I'm just repeating what Prabhupada said during a lecture. The Sankirtan movement of Chaitanya, Pram Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, doesn't just mean musical. We get together and then that's That's the solution. It's the sound vibration of different types. Hearing message of Krishna, vibrating the message of Krishna, collectively engaging in this activity.
So that will help the gun control?
Yeah, everything. So let's do it again. Let's do it again. Where does the gun violence come from?
I know that, yeah.
Tamagun.
Right.
How do you check Tamagun? You go back to Rajagun. How do you check Rajagun? Tadvag vasarga janata agha viplavo. That's how. Gun control. And it's not just gun, there's all kinds of violence.
I just hope it ends, but...
Well, you can hope it ends. If you want to do something rather than hope it ends, make that sound vibration.
Yes, that's true, and we are trying to do that.
I'm not saying you're not. I'm just, giving you a path to go on. Because you got to, I want to see it stop. But it's not just I want to see it stop is going to make it stop. People, you've heard the phrase, how does it go? The man who lives by the sword dies by the sword. The man who lives with guns dies by guns. The people who live by violence, they die by violence. How much violence is there in the food that people eat? Think about it. And it's not just McDonald's. There's all the other brands, and they're growing and 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 growing, and violence and violence and that violence got to go somewhere. The reaction for that violence, in the name of, it's okay. In our religion, it's okay. Not okay. But it's not sufficient just to stop animal slaughter, because that tendency is going to go somewhere else, even if you could manage to stop the animal slaughter. Or it reduces. It's not reducing. But even if you could reduce it, it's not the solution. You can reduce the gun violence, reduce the relationship violence, etc., 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 etc. It's the modes of nature, impel action. So how do you rewire the modes of nature? Even God doesn't do that, unless living entities take the alternative given to them. Sound vibration lives and changes the reaction, the karmic reaction that binds one to do more of the same. Violence breeds violence. How do you stop it? That's your question. Rewire the modes of nature. That's even God doesn't do that. Say it again. But He gives us the option of transforming the consciousness of the souls that are implicated in this atmosphere of Rajagun Tamagun. It's elevating the consciousness of the soul. There's a method. You care? Take the method. I'm not saying you don't, and that's not challenging you, but there is a path. And who are we? We're little people. And it's a big world. It's a violent big world. What can we do? To our capacity. And it's not just your children, it's God's children. The cows that are being, those signs, I've seen like 10 of them. There's a cow standing in the back of another cow saying, "Eat more chicken." You've seen those? Billboard. A three-dimensional cow with a marker on the billboard standing on the back of another cow saying, "Eat more chicken." That's a Chick-fil. That's the ad for Chick-fil. Just change your brand of violence from this one to that one. It's a fundamental problem. We have the human form of life, and we can rule over other forms of life at their expense. It's violence. How do you change that? Not just gun violence. Big problema. Modes of nature. Impelling activity. And people think it's just, what's wrong with you? That's just what you do. You kill chickens and kill cows and eat them. And fish and birds and, whatever you like. We're strong and powerful. It's the way God wanted it. That's what my parents told me. We had a little conversation about it. In the Bible it says, God gave to man dominion over the animals. It's authorized. To that I said, when I was little, you had dominion over me. And my mother screamed. So I didn't try to explain anymore. How do you change it? Exploitative mentality. Awakening of God consciousness. Violence breeds violence. Yes?
When you were speaking about impersonalism, I was thinking, how do we identify and address the impersonalism in our own heart?
Yeah, that's a good thought. You want an answer to that one?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, a rule of thumb about changing problems is to recognize that it exists. I learned that one from this whole topic on narcissism, people that study narcissism within millennials. That the experts say the first thing is to recognize that it exists. And it's not just the kids, it's the parents of the kids. The parents help breed within the kids. So recognize that that's the tendency. Both, that the perpetrators or the fosterers of and the recipients of. First is recognition. So then, what are the various ways in which it exists? Well, there's too many to count, but at least you start with the principle that it exists, and let me look at ways in which it may be existing. And then you go down the path of not just focusing on the unwanted thing, try, and you'll find how difficult it is to focus on the wanted thing. So for us, anartha vritti is powered by bhajana kriya, right? So try to do the bhajan, the devotional activity, where the Supreme Person is pleased. I spent time purposefully speaking about the form, because it's the verse. Those who think I've assumed this manushim tanamashratam. So seeing Krishna's form as material. But for us, we're not seeing Krishna's form thinking it's material, maybe the deity form, but we're not necessarily objecting to seeing the deity form, although some people do. I was hearing a lecture where Prabhupada, it was a morning walk conversation when Prabhupada it was like half the people on the morning walk were from a Jewish origin, saying in the religion that we came from, seeing a form of the Lord is an offense. graven image. And even calling the name is an offense. You can't do it. It's because the name of God is too powerful. They can't do it because you're confining that which is too powerful. You can't call the name of God. You can't see the form of God. It'd have to be impersonal. Although there's some acknowledgement of God as a person behind it. It's just the cloak, and behind it is impersonal. So there's so many different ways. So the positive, to help understand the degree to which we're in darkness, is turn to the light and cultivate abhinatvam nama namino. I've already started preparing for the Festival of the Holy Name, and the first talk is just right on this topic. Yes.
I just wanted to know how big is the congregation in China?
How big?
Yeah. Any temples are there?
There's no temples. Well, you have a temple. You have to be approved by the government. They don't approve.
But
There's ashrams where devotees stay together, but it's against the law. There are places where there's deities being worshipped, but it's against the law. Now the government prior to this new fellow was looking the other way. This new fellow is not looking the other way. And when the new fellow says, clamp down, you got to clamp down if you're a government guy, otherwise you lose your government job. So how far they're going to go, let's see. But there's no temples.
Is there any danger to the devotees?
Well, not like their life isn't in danger, but their liberties are in danger. There's no civil liberties in China. It's how far the government wants to go. Now, 1 year ago, and for the past several years, I've been saying the government has already studied us with in a magnifying glass for 30 years. They know that we're not a problem. But now there's a new guy, and there's a whole new set of laws this thick, dealing with religion. And this and that and the other thing, this thick. Well, that's with the English translation. Law. China is a government of law, and there's a new set of laws about religion in China. We don't know where it's going to go. How much there's enough teeth that they could chew people up and spit them out. You put them in jail or whatever they want to do. There's enough teeth. No, so far they haven't done anything like that. But he's the guy on top is a powerful guy. So the devotees have to be very careful, more than before. And the visiting devotees have to be, in step with the local devotees, who know how to, protect themselves. We'll see where it goes. We don't know. But it's probably not going to go up. It's probably going to go down. Yeah.
Still a follow-up. How is the preaching going on over there? Like, how are they making new devotees?
Oh, they're making lots of new devotees. And how is it going on? Through indirect means and book distribution. Because, at least the previous government was under a lot of pressure from foreign countries to have more civil rights. And they don't. Civil rights, garbage. China's a government of law. That's China. But with pressure, so they adopted a posture that said, we are in favor of promoting religion that's indigenous to the people from which the religion comes. So like the Vedas come from India, and so the Chinese government, at least the printing division, after 4 years of reading Bhagavatam, authorized it being printed by a government printing house. So now it's government published books that we have to order from the government printing house. So they know everything. They know who the purchaser is. They know who the supplier is. They're in control. Nothing's out of their control. But it's legal. So that's how they work. So they're spreading by book distribution. That's has the imprimatur of the government, and they're monitoring it. The government has a lot more to worry about Christianity than Krishna consciousness. That's growing very rapidly because it's a recognized religion. Christianity in 2 divisions. There's 5 recognized religions in China, and they see Catholicism and Protestant faith separate. There's 2 of the 5. For whatever the reason, they see them as separate. And it's growing rapidly. And they're more concerned about that than they are about the Hare Krishna movement. I'd rather not talk about China too much. Anything else? Okay. Are you going to sing for us today? I'm looking at her. She's looking at Mom. What do I answer? How do I answer that question? So let's have kirtan. And one of the things I'm concerned is our procedure for offering is we don't just place something before the deity and leave it there and then it's offered. We say some prayers. So why don't you find out what's offered and not offered? And when we start the kirtan, we'll offer things that aren't offered. And then after that we'll have arti. Did you bring your harmonium or you want to use this one?
Prasaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravanta Charine Nirvishesha Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashatarine Chaitanya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,